Okay, with Judy Rebick here in Toronto. Just want to get your thoughts on kind of Canadian activism in light of this recent G20 report, as well as what's happening in Quebec.
Well, you know, we're having a real, in Quebec for sure, an upsurge of activism among young people, and to an extent in the rest of Canada, extent in the environmental justice movement, and to extent in the Occupy movement. So there's starting to be like a new radical youth movement that's I guess we could say revolutionary. It's not looking for this little reform or that little reform. It wants to transform society from top to bottom. And the way that powers that be are reacting to it is with repression. So we had 2 years ago, we had the G20, and the police were like totally, well, you know, at first we thought totally out of control, but now we have a report that basically says they were ordered to act that way by the chain of command. And so, you know, there's just been a scathing report come out that blames the Toronto police chain of command for the violence that happened. And the good thing about that is that there are charges. So finally, I mean, it took 2 years, but finally somebody's going to be held accountable for this violation of civil rights. But nobody learned the lesson. So now we have, you know, first of all, the Montreal police have been violent against the student demonstrations for, well, since the beginning of March. And they just got worse and worse. And then there started to be an element in the student movement that was participating in vandalism, and then of course that gave the police an excuse to even get more violent. And now the premier's brought in this just, it's like Orwellian bill. This bill, you just can't even believe it, where he's first of all he's shutting down the schools and postponing the term until August. I don't even know if he has the legal ability to do that. But secondly, more serious, is that 10 or more people, you know, have to give eight days in advance notice if they're going to gather. You know, so it's like it's insane. So not only can't you, or 8 hours. Sorry, 8 hours. So not only can't you have a demonstration without permission. Of course, there have been demonstrations for weeks now, every day, every single day in Montreal. But I mean, what about a tour bus? You know, people get out of the tour bus. There are more than 8 people. They have to give them notice. Like, it's a bureaucratic nightmare, and it's also probably unconstitutional. But the fact that it's probably unconstitutional and he's doing it anyway gives us an idea of where we're at with the defense of civil rights in the country. That a government is willing to pass a bill which is blatantly unconstitutional, and because it'll last long enough for them to be able to do what they want to do and repress the student movement. I mean, I really think that the whole of Canada should be up in arms, at least on this civil rights issue, on this democracy issue. You know, the federal government, too, is just one thing after another, just destroying the rights that we've gained, not just over the last 30 years, but over the last century. And I don't think there's been enough of a reaction to it. That in English Canada, I don't think there's been enough of a reaction. So I'm hoping that over the summer and the fall that we can build a real movement for democracy and against Harper. And, you know, some people will be around environmental issues, some people will be around social justice issues, but, you know, it's all the same issue. It's all the same problem, which is a voracious system that doesn't care about nature, doesn't care about people, doesn't care about rights, and all they care about is making money for the top 1%. So I'm glad to see the uprising of young people, both in Quebec and in English Canada, but we need more.
Great, thank you.